Welcome to the Nonsense in the Chaos. I'm your host, Jolie Rose. We are days away from Beltane, which I love. It is don't tell the other days, my favourite day of the year. It is the time of year that I got married to my darling husband, Dizzle. And I picked this time of year because once when I was on tour with the Fools, we stayed in this gorgeous little hamlet and it was absolutely covered in bluebells. And it turned out that the local farmer had lost his wife and she loved bluebells. And so he'd covered the hamlet in bluebells, and every spring he thought of her and it was like she came to life around him through the bluebells popping up. And it made me appreciate how magical that time of year is for you to notice life coming about, for these things to be a message almost, because there was nothing, there was death, there was decay, there was bleakness, and then all of a sudden there's this life just bursting forth. And where that came from, what magic, especially now we understand through science what's happening. But there was a time where we didn't understand any of this and we just beheld it. And what an incredible thing to witness each year, for us to be following those cycles of the season and it not be just a given that things are going to happen. We started measuring the sun coming up and placing rocks in certain places and then observing that they do keep coming up in the same place. And so therefore we can create land temples and bases where we can celebrate and worship I suppose it's almost celebrating our kind of scientific and technological breakthrough of having noticed time and being able to measure it, because that's it. Yeah, it's almost the equivalent of the AI of its time, was for us to have put a rock in a place that did hit that rock at the right time each year, that we're able to go, okay, so this is a continuous thing, so we know this now, this is something that we know. And we had farming, it's been suggested, something I heard suggested once was that the straw dolls that we make in the springtime, you have Imbolc, which is St. Bridget, who was the goddess Bridget. She's like the beginning of the spring journey. So she's the snowdrops moment in time. And you'd make these straw dolls as part of the Imbolc celebrations. But the making of these dolls meant that you shedded seeds. And so where the women sat and made these dolls, plants grew. The next lot of wheat or corn or whatever it was, whatever the crop was that you were making these dolls out of, suddenly there was all these plants growing. And that meant these dolls were fertility dolls. We make these dolls and then we have crops grow. And so that was the thinking as to how we then discovered farming, because eventually we were like, oh, it's maybe not the dolls, maybe it's the seeds falling. I just like that idea. I don't know if that's true. I have no way of proving whether that's true, but I heard that once and I thought it was an interesting idea, that it began with the dolls and them seeming like a fertility symbol, and then us then noticing and getting into farming. And I love the idea as well that plant spirit is so strong. Like tobacco's the top of the plant spirit hierarchy, and it has such a strong control over humanity. And that wheat domesticated humans, which is in Sapiens, that book that came out about 5-6 years ago, that in that it suggests wheat is now the most prolific life force on the planet. So did we domesticate wheat, or did wheat domesticate us? Because we're at a disadvantage by eating wheat, because we eat significantly less nutrients. We're no longer nomadic. We're stuck in places having to do jobs and money and all the stuff that's come with the labour and industry of farming that we didn't have before. We were just hunt and gather, and that meant that we were free and we ate better. So have we really benefited from farming, other than like the perceived comfort of being in one place? But actually, in many ways, we're not as comfortable. We're protected from the weather more, but we're unhealthy in many ways that, are very uncomfortable. Say if you've got sciatica, or I'm sat here now with my leg with sciatica, and RSI from being on the computer, and I'm someone who's fit. They're my ailments. They're not that bad. But if you have any kind of chronic pain, is that necessarily better than being outside and being free? And it's a gloriously sunny week. So it's a week for being outside and being free. I had a gorgeous moment today where I've created a spirit path with runes from a beacon tree, which Gordon, who was on the podcast talking about talking to trees and connecting with trees, he located 2 beacon trees on Sark, one outside the government, which I thought was interesting because he didn't know that was the government building. But there's a great big knobbly tree outside the government, and it turns out that's a beacon tree. And then the other beacon tree, I knew, we all know it. If I put up a photo of this tree, anyone who lives on Sark knows it. It's a really special tree. There's another one that Gordon didn't find, which I'm certain is a beacon tree, because again, that's another tree that we all know. They tend to be oak trees. And I don't know, you go back and listen to the podcast, but part of the way I've translated it is that the information from the cosmos is coming down through these trees, like they're the aerials almost, and then permeating out through the mycelium network, passing on like the universe's intel into the natural world. And this tree just vibrates, like it is, you're drawn to it. And he was saying that normally you can tell what beacon trees are in your childhood because they're the ones you used to climb as a kid, and they probably were oak trees. And they don't have to be oak trees, but they tend to be in the UK. And yeah, this tree's gorgeous, and it's right at the top of my favourite walk. I feel like if there is a spiritual line or ley line energy line in Sark, then it is this route down to Portsmouth, and it goes past a place called Tintagel, which is named after, not named, they're from the same, they weren't named after each other, but it's the same root word as the one in Cornwall, and it's from the Celtic peoples. And so we had the Celts living here at one point, the Bretons, and it's just got like the monastery was built along this route, so obviously they connected with it. They felt something about this spot. So the moinery, which was the monastery, was built along it, and it just goes down to this place, that this beach, this stony beach, that it just vibrates. It's where the sun sets, so it's also a glorious place to be in the afternoon. And so at the last full moon, I picked 2 runes, having talked about the things that were going on in my life and what was happening for me, I picked 2 runes and they went and made a pilgrimage somewhere accessible that meant something to me, so that it was somewhere that I could keep going back to and contemplating. And I chose this route. And so I placed one of my runes in the beacon tree, and that rune was the rune of community. And here, community is basically my main focus. It's what takes up all my time. And so I put this rune in the tree, and then I walked with intention on a pilgrimage down through the route down to Port de Moulin. You have the window in the rock, you've got the nook, and then you go down to the beach. And with my second rune, I swam out into the sea. And the second rune was Tia, which is like a spear. And it's about clear direction and clarity and focus. So it's an arrow, basically. And I took that out into the sea and I dropped it in the sea, so that this journey is like right out into the water and then back up again. And now I've created that line with these 2 runes. I can walk that for the next, hopefully, I'm going to be living here I'm not even halfway through my life yet, because I once had a vision that I lived to 114 and I'm only 46 now, and I've got a long way to go yet. So I might be walking this for another 40, 50 years. And every time I walk it, it will keep meaning different things. And today when I was walking it, I wasn't really paying attention, and I got smacked really hard in the head by a branch. And when I get hit in the head, I always see that as a message from the universe telling me to pay attention. And it's happened quite a few times where I've had head injuries when I need to pay attention. I need to be more present. And yeah, I was walking along this route and I was texting and listening to a podcast whilst doing, and it was stunning. We're talking about Beltane energy here, and I wasn't appreciating the moment, and yeah, got smacked in the head really hard by a branch, so that woke me up. But I'd taken some sacred cacao with me, and I went down and I had a lovely afternoon where it was boiling hot and it was late enough in the day that there wasn't any fishermen or anyone around, and people don't go down there that much because it is quite a steep climb, so it's not the most accessible beach. And there's this little archway, natural archway made out of rock. And when the tide's out, you can go through underneath it, and there's like a kind of hidden beach. Once you're in the water and you swim out, people can see you from the window in the rock, but you're quite far away and no one can really see you from the beach. And so it's a great place for skinny dipping and naked sunbathing. And I just got naked and I lay on the rocks, and it was so warm and it was beautiful. And the tide was out and I fell asleep, and I was having such a lovely sleep. And then my mum rang me, and I sat up and realised that the tide was coming in. It was really close. I was very lucky that she rang me, although my feet would have got cold and wet before I actually got completely soaked. Hopefully, it depends on how quick the tide comes up. It's mad how quick the tide moves. Like, it always blows my mind. I think I was only asleep for about 20 minutes. It wasn't that long. And so I then got in the sea, had a swim. It was beautiful. And then came back and dried off and drank my cacao, and then made my way back up. And yeah, it just means I've got these 2 runes to contemplate on forever, and they'll keep meaning new things. So they already mean new things from when I wrote them. So I wrote them 2 weeks ago when I felt a lot of scarcity around the support that I needed for putting on the Beltane Festival, which is this Saturday, where I felt very sad that people weren't engaging with it. It feels like people in Guernsey love it because it's their view of Sark. It's what Sark means to them. They see it as this kind of Wicker Man place, when actually it's more of carling and gambling. And so we have a festival that's sheep racing, and that's basically drinking, carling and betting on sheep racing, and the whole community gets behind that. Anything that's to do with drinking and eating burgers, they'll love it. Whereas this has obviously got a bit more going on with it, and it's folk creativity, which is why I'm frustrated, because I'm trying to get them to see that this is for them. Like, folk rituals are, first of all, huge money makers in terms of tourism. Anywhere that has these old traditions that the whole community comes out and takes part in, people love it, and they flock from all over the world to come and be part of it and watch it. But also, it's so good for the community, and it's not wussy or weird. There's big men with beards doing it who are very passionate about their impression of the horse, or cross-dressing, or playing the mummers, or whatever it is that they do. Morris dancing, everyone's like, oh, Morris dancing. The thing that I've been trying to get across is that this is our working class folk creativity and art. And if we've been convinced that it's low grade and naff, that's because we're being convinced continuously to purchase and buy into commodified creativity that is packaged and sold to us. Personally, I would say that half of the pop music and TV and stuff that is being consumed is absolute shite, and I would choose a Morris dancer any day over the dribble that a lot of us have become groomed to accept as our kind of working class entertainment. It's not just that you're doing something creative, it's that you're outside and connecting to nature and connecting to the seasons, which connects you to your land, which reminds you that the land is yours. And the people who at some point went, no, I've decided I own land, and have made up the laws and have the bully boys and the swords and the horses to force my opinion that this is now my land, that they created this whole structure called reality to impress that upon you. And I don't know if I think I've talked about this in another podcast, but the Levellers, who were my favourite band when I was younger, were named after a group of working class people, labourers, who, when the Enclosure Act happened, which when I was at school was the history that I just I just wasn't interested at all in it at all. It was so boring because it was taught boringly. If they taught me that this was what your favourite band, because my favourite band was when I was 13, I was at school, and if they told me that this music that you're listening to, this brilliant working class folk music that you love, is named after these people who, a load of rich people just suddenly decided that this common land was theirs and put fences up around it, and the common people went, no, we're not going to let you do that, and stood up to them. And there were men, women and children who just continued to till the land and refused to stop doing it. And whoever it was who'd said that land now belonged to them got a bunch of bully boys together and paid them a load of money to take down these people. And they didn't want to, because they could see they were women and children. They're just ordinary people. They didn't want to do it. They probably knew them. It was probably their neighbouring village or town or whatever. And they didn't want to do it. So they ran through them, first of all, with horses and threatened them. And the people carried on and refused to stop. And so they ran through and killed them all. And they killed all of them. And they chopped up their bodies and they tarred their body ends so that they'd stay fresh for longer. And they paraded them around on sticks and showed all the local people, like, this is what will happen to you if you stand up against us. And so that's how our landed gentry became landed gentry. That's how we lost our land. And we were the first people to be colonised. And here we have real Indigenous people who are continuously fighting off colonisation from tax-dodging millionaires who have made their money through nefarious means and are here just to benefit. They don't spend their money here. They don't do their shopping here. They don't come and hang out in the pub. Some of them do, but on the whole, they're doing their own thing and they're having their private yachts brought in, and we're not benefiting from them being here. I saw a really good meme yesterday that was like, we should bring in tax. It was like 3-tiered thing. It said, we should bring in taxes or increase taxes. And then the next one went, but then all the millionaires will leave. And then the next one went, I'm already sold on the idea. You don't have to encourage me. I was just like, and that's how I feel about it here. Like, everyone's like, well, if you do that, all the millionaires will leave. I'm like, well, A, great. B, no, they won't, because they'll still be paying less tax here than they will anywhere else. So, yeah, we need to look at what would be a competitive rate for us to charge, but we need to change our tax system so that we are, because basically if you're here as an under 20 grand a year earner, which a huge number of us are, and most of people who are under 20 grand a year are locals, working in the service industry, working as builders and as carters and things like that, we are not in any way benefiting from any kind of low tax jurisdiction, because in the UK, I'd be paying like 275 or 295, whatever it is now, a year for national insurance, and I'd get free healthcare. Here, I pay 500 a year insurance, and that doesn't come with healthcare, so I'd have to pay healthcare on top of that. So as someone who earns under 20 grand a year, I'm paying more here and getting less for it. Whereas someone who has 170 million a year, as some guy that I know boasted about to me recently, he's paying 500 a year. It's insanity. Yeah, I think it's very interesting what's been going on over here at the moment, because we're coming up to Beltane, we're coming up to this festival, and yeah, my community connection has completely shifted since I did these runes and since I created the spirit line. There's loads of things happening that are affecting class war that's happening in the astrology at the moment. So we're experiencing astrology that hasn't happened in our lifetimes and won't be happening again in our lifetimes. And it was all concentrated at the beginning of this year. So it feels like Beltane's going to be like a breath of fresh air. Like, so much, it's going to be a lot easier. It's not that it's going to be easier, because that's not true. I'd say we've gone through a painful page turn, like a butterfly coming out of a chrysalis moment. It's been a gooey mess that's then had to form and then drag itself out this chrysalis, and we're now like shaking on the leaf. But now it's a new epoch. It's a new era. We're in a new reality. So Pluto in Aquarius, Pluto moves into Aquarius at the start of this year, and that's the first time that it's been here it was the 1770s. And the last time that happened was huge upheaval. So we had the American Revolution, the French Revolution, and the beginning, first like strong abolitionist movements began. And then what's just happened, and this has happened in Aries, Neptune is moving from Pisces into Aries. And Neptune is the planet of collective dreams and illusions and spirituality. The last time Neptune moved from Pisces into Aries was the mid-1800s. And we saw waves of revolution in Europe, and just the abolitionist movement became like intensified, and we had the US Civil War. And then loads of new political ideologies emerge, like communism, anarchism, and feminism. It's interesting because Neptune's collective dreams and illusions and spirituality. And so when that mixes with Aries, it's about political ideologies. That's what we create. And Pluto in Aquarius, Pluto is deep transformation, destruction and rebirth. So revolution in Aquarius, which is a very entrepreneurial, like literally anything's possible. And I think that's the thing, is that this energy is anything's possible with so much Aries going on, that it is that reality defining where you're like, actually, even though it feels like it's insurmountable for us to free ourselves from slavery, or insurmountable for us to free ourselves from the monarchy and these ruling leaders that are just so good at grooming us with their stories to make us believe that's the way things are and that this is what reality is, that this is what reality is all about. And we have to buy into it and we have to believe in it. And it's so easy for us to do that because you're born, you don't know what's going on and you don't realise that it's all being made up and you just go along with everything. And it takes a long time for people to wake up to the fact that it's made up. And that's what I see being woke as, is someone who's gone, all right, this is all nonsense. And that is so important. Being woke is not a bad thing. Oh, sorry, you're still in the Matrix. Okay, you're in the dream. All right, I am awake. Yeah, no, and I'm not putting up with this shit any longer. But yeah, we also have, yes, basically we've got so much Aries stuff going on. So Pluto in Aquarius demands the breakdown of corrupt power structures and the redistribution of collective power, which is like about to happen. You can feel it because everyone's disgruntled. Everyone's had enough. Neptune in late Pisces dissolves the illusions of capitalism and hierarchical dreams, exposing the deep injustices of it all. And then there's so much Aries energy, like so many things are in Aries at the moment, that this fuels the courage and uprising needed to confront these old systems head on. And then Jupiter and Uranus conjunct in Taurus will push sudden expansion of movements around land ownership, food, labour. And now it's Beltane, and that's International Workers' Day, and it's all about the labour movement. Yeah, it's just interesting because all of these things, it does. I always say in my moon ceremonies that it's not that I believe in the astrology of things, and it's not necessarily that I believe in these planetary energies. I just think that it's interesting to follow them because when you do, you learn so much about your own personality and humanity, and it makes you reflect on all the different aspects of life. That's my non-wah-wah explanation or like excuse for what I do and what I get out of it. But the truth is, the more I follow the energies of the moving planets and the symphony of this dance that we're in, the more I'm like, yeah, but this is mad. So all of these things, and it's the fractal thing again. I've already done a podcast on fractal, but the fractal reality is that in a few days' time, I'm putting on Beltane, and it's this community festival that when I created those runes, I felt very unsupported and unconnected with the community about it. And I felt like, okay, I'm just having to do it for Guernsey now because they're not helping me. And I felt really frustrated and sad. And like the school kids weren't up for being in the Mummers Play this year. And so I had to scrabble around to find people to do the Mummers Play, getting kids from Guernsey to come and do it. And it's just been a bit of a slog getting it going. And yeah, I haven't felt very connected to the like majority of people on the island. Like I have a really lovely peppered selection, like a peppering across the community of people that I really connect with and get me. But I think on the whole, people have been a bit like, she's a bit of a weirdo and haven't really got me and understood me. And then created these runes and then wrote an article about community and Beltane and it being a working class folk tradition and this connection to International Workers' Day, that this is our art, it's grassroots art, it's connection to the land art, it's real people art. I was at my wedding last year, we did a Mummers Play on the stage on the Sunday, which was like our meal bit of the wedding. And it wasn't with punters there, it was just the wedding guests. And we did an open mic because all of us were artists and creatives, the people that put on the festival. And there were friends there from Sark, and one of them was the guy who did the cooking for the meal. And he's a proper Carling drinking Mancunian. And he watched the play and he was just like, I got off the stage and he said, that was so out of my comfort zone and I don't understand what was just happening then. But talk to me about it, because I was transfixed. And I went, your archetype is the everyman, like you're a real working class hero. And what we were just doing was working class theatre. And so it spoke to you. It spoke to you because this is your roots. Your ancestors were watching this and it's meant for you. And he really got it and he really liked it. And yeah, it just was one of those moments where it's like, yeah, this is an archetypal connection that you're sensing here. And it was really nice. And yeah, it's been quite a strong bond between us. And all of this happened. And then suddenly everything just went click into this new reality place where I put my neck out, which is also part of what's happening in the astrology at the moment, is this sort of sticky moment of revelation, or I don't know, yeah, have a sticky conversation. And I did a personal statement because, like, publicly about the fact that some oligarch rich people who are here, who've been in the government with me for the last 2 years, and actually I'd been pleasantly surprised at how normal they were, and we'd got on and I've drunk with them and I've been in committees with them and I've gotten really well with them. And then suddenly it was dripping through over the last 2 years that it was clear that one of them had a real issue with the guy who runs our government, who's a local bloke. And I'd noticed that they were trying to get me on side, and I had been aware of that. But it really came to a head pretty much this year, since January, to the point where we're getting absolutely swamped with constant emails, like a barrage of emails asking questions about every single thing and literally just trying to catch us out the whole time. And we spend so much time and energy trying to answer them so that we don't get caught out, so that we can show what our reasoning is or what our research has been and what conversations have been had, and transparency and good governance and all of this stuff. But it takes up so much time. And it's like, why, when we're all on the same team, we don't have party politics here, so we should be working together. And it's been exhausting and frustrating. And they've caught other people up in their whirlwind. And they called a motion of no confidence against us that we're going to have to fight over on Wednesday. So I'm putting this out on Monday. And on Wednesday, I've got to go to the quarterly assembly and government assembly and fight for my right to carry on being in the kind of main controlling committee, the policy and finance committee. And it's really frustrating and hurtful. And for a while I just sat with it and I didn't know what to do. But then I felt like it was wrong. I was waiting to just speak on Wednesday, and I'd written a statement to share on Wednesday. But there's another woman on the committee with me. And we just came to the conclusion that we did need to say something beforehand, like we needed to fight our corner beforehand. And I just felt like it was time to call out what was really going on, because what they're doing is it's all smoke and mirrors. They're going on about details, but the details are constantly changing. It's a kaleidoscope of noise, and they're jumping on everything left, right and centre. Today it's this, but tomorrow it could be that, and it doesn't matter. The one constant is that they're after our head guy. That's been the consistent thing over 2 years, is that it's all been about this guy. I have an email from the one who's got the real obsession, trying to get me to turn against him. He had 4 or 5 conversations with me in the last 2 years trying to get me to turn against him. So I knew that's what it was about. Yeah, I just called it out. I actually said that's what's going on, and I put it on Facebook and then went to the news, and also then wrote to all the other politicians and said it. So I was like transparent with everybody. This is what I think's going on, and this is what I've been seeing. And it's just shifted everything, because I think I said it from a really clear place. Like, it was like clarity. This is what I'm seeing, and I'm just saying it. And people are like, oh, that's not professional, we shouldn't put it on Facebook. But they've been going to the press, they've been printing lies, they've been using their own newsletters to print things when they were meant to be community newsletters. And they have literally been publishing lies, absolute outright lies, and went behind our backs to do things with Guernsey politicians. And they're all the things that they've been accusing our head guy of doing. And that's what's mad about it. It's like, you're literally doing the things that you're accusing us of, like lack of transparency, being renegade, going off on our own and doing stuff. And they're literally doing that. And they weren't voted in because they had non-contended elections. So there was a contended election, the last election we had. So all of the new concierges are with mandates, like they're mandated politicians. But this lot that are pushing this, they're like me. We're not mandated. We didn't get voted in. We put our name on a form and no one else was up for it. So we got in. And so I think it's also quite rude of them to be creating such a storm when they don't even have the support of the people. They don't have the support of the House. They're doing stuff behind our backs. And they don't have the support of the people because they weren't voted in. So it is just these rich people who I guess are just used to always getting their own way, like pushing us around and just deciding what they think's right and what they want. And it's not even that I think they've got that much of an agenda. I actually think on the whole, it's one person's obsession with this other guy. And it's mainly that. And he's then stirred everybody else up into a frenzy. But I'd prefer it in a way if there was a more sinister agenda, because it would be less absolutely freaking outrageously childish. I don't think there is. So wrote this personal statement. That's out now. And then on Wednesday, we'll be standing up and having to defend ourselves and debate whether we should be got rid of or not, which is intense. And then on Saturday, a few days later, I'm going to put on a festival. But what has shifted is the public response to my statement has been incredible. And loads of people that have never really connected with me or clicked with me and have been a bit shirty or a bit dismissive of me have suddenly come out of the woodwork and just been like, that's amazing. Thank you for being honest. You said it. We all been thinking this. Thank you for sharing. And then I've had other people being, we literally didn't have a clue that this was going on. So thanks for saying something, because we had no idea. And it's just changed everything. Suddenly everyone's being really helpful with the festival. And so it's so interesting because that's literally the runes I pulled. I pulled the rune of community and then the rune of throwing a spear and like clear direction and clarity. And I was clear and direct about what was happening and was honest and open and just went, this is what's going on. And suddenly the community's opened up and it's just fully embraced me. And I sat at my in-laws' family roast on Sunday and just felt like they were my family. Like I've always felt very welcome there, but there was something about the meal this Sunday that I was like, I fully feel part of this family now. Like they're my family. And that was really lovely. And yeah, it's just shifted everything. I feel like a local. I'll never be a local. Even people who've been here 400 years and not 500 years are not locals. But yeah, I feel like I'm part of the local gang now. And that feels amazing. So whatever happens on Wednesday, it's almost like I've got nothing to lose, because if we win, then that feels great, because in terms of the fractal aspect, I've beaten the tendrils of Trump that are in my reality, the oligarchs. It feels like a real victory over evil. And that feels wonderful. That would be great. And then if I don't get in, then I've been more warmly welcomed into the community, and I will continue to fight we'll hold these people to account, and we will just make sure they don't undo the good work, and we hold them to account, basically. But I feel so like I've been, rewarded by the shift that's happened in my place within the community, and I'm really grateful for it. Every cloud has a silver lining. That was a horrible experience to go through, and it's been grueling, and being in the government in general was just madness. I didn't choose to do this. It came upon me, and I follow the universe. If the universe sends me in a direction, I'll go with it. And I had 2 people ask me to be in the government, and I feel like if they're going to, keep requesting, one of them thought I'd said yes already. And then when I said no, I'd said no. They were like, oh, please, no, go on, please do it. And yeah, it's just been such a roller coaster ride, but I have grown so much and I've learned so much about myself. Like I've learned inwardly, I've learned intellectually, I've learned emotionally. It's been a massive journey. I was talking to some people the other day who are a bit younger than me, and they've lived here for a long time, and they were talking about wanting to go out and have adventure, and talking about how it's quite a limited experience here if this is where you're from in terms of adventure. And they want to go travelling and they want to go off and do all these things. And I was like, yeah, but this is my adventure. Like, I'm not from here. I've come here as an outsider. This is foreign to me. And I've fallen in love, and that's an adventure. And I'm having a whole wonderful romance and just delicious love with the most beautiful human being. And it just keeps getting better and better. It's our year anniversary this Saturday. And yeah, we've got each other in our lives. The bluebells are blossoming, and that's our time of year. The lambs are out and just butterflies, the primroses, and all of these things are an indication of our love. They're all blossoming around us and we get to celebrate our love in a great big party festival. And I'm going to party hard this weekend. That's a fact, because I'm blooming deserve it. That's what I think. So yeah, it's just very interesting how it's all clicked into place, and the runes and the planets, and it's just the way I see it with all these sort of things like synchronicities like this is the universe saying that you're doing the right thing and that you're in the right place and this is what's meant to be happening. And yeah, it's mad, and it is fractal and juicy. It's so juicy. It's been exhausting and grueling. I feel like I've been in a war and it's not over yet, but I'm energized again now. I'm over a very big hump, and yeah, I feel like I've benefited from, I'm already reaping in fact, I pulled harvest as one of the runes last night for the Taurus dark moon. And yeah, I'm feeling abundant. That's how I'm feeling. And I was definitely in a scarcity place a week ago. And now I feel absolutely abundant. The amount of people that are telling me they love me on a day-to-day basis, just saying it, love you. It's just, I'm surrounded by love and it's really wonderful. So that's nice. If you enjoy this podcast, then please consider supporting me on Patreon, which is patreon.com/Jolie Rose. So this is a way of being able to support the work that I do, which means that I can be a creative artist and create work on a tiny little island in the middle of nowhere and share the amazing people that I know and the life experiences that I have and the ideas and things that come to me via the universe. I feel like I try to be a channel or a conduit for what's happening in the universe as much as possible. And I never really know what I'm going to talk about or what's going to happen. And that's the reason why it's the nonsense in the chaos, is trusting the unknown. And every time I do that, such amazing things happen. And so being here is just been through a series of events. I have been writing my book about the pilgrimages that I walked that led me to moving here. And some of the places that I walked through, I remember thinking, God, how do people end up living here? What's the journey that led people to living in this amazing place? Really strange little communities in the middle of nowhere, but absolutely beautiful, or special little places. And you can be like, oh, how on earth does that happen? How would you get there? And now I'm in one of those places. People come here on holiday and they'd be going around on their bikes going, how do you end up living in a place like this? I live in one of those places, and it's such a privilege to be part of this paradise, because it is just such a heavenly place, and also complex and nuanced and diverse. And it's so a petri dish of the bigger picture. It is so fractal living here. It's quite crazy. And so sharing what I learn from this and my insights and what is coming through from letting the universe lead is the whole point of this podcast, letting the universe lead and seeing where you end up. And this is me sharing my adventure with you following that process, and to keep giving you nudges and exercises and food for thought that will help nudge you in the direction of stepping off that cliff into the unknown. So if that nourishes you or excites you or entertains you, then if you would be up for supporting me to carry on doing this work, then I'd be ever so grateful. I'd love this to become my full-time job. It does take up time, and it would be great if that was able to be financially rewarding enough for me to be able to do all the things like buy my food and pay for my bills and get equipment and maybe go on holiday once in a while. That would be great. That's not where I'm at the moment. I'm far away from that, but that's the dream. So anything you can do to help would be greatly appreciated. So if you're able to support me with a monthly subscription, £3 a month is you saying thank you, and you get the free content that I create, but all in one place, because I do videos over here, I do ceremonies over there, I write articles over here, and I put them all in one place so they're easy for you to access. And then if you pay £9 a month, you get the videos for these podcasts, which is just a bit of extra content for you to say thank you. And you also get discounts for things that I do, offerings that I do. For example, the Which Fool Are You course, which is starting at the end of May. So once I get over the hump of the next week and I'm over the Beltane party, I will then be concentrating on getting the Which Fool Are You course up and running, and we will launch with the dark moon at the end of the month. So if you'd like to join this, it's the deepest work I do, and it's going on a full deep immersion into the inner world, and we will work out and let percolate what our archetypes are and how we can work with them. And yeah, connecting in with the role that we're here to play in this game of life. And it's juicy and it's transformative and it's a never-ending journey. So I do it as well each time, and I learn something new every time, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper. And I love it. So I can't recommend it enough because I do it and I really enjoy it. Yeah, hopefully you will too. So do get in touch if you'd like any more information on this. Email me or message me on social media. If you want to email me, it's nonsenseinthechaos@gmail.com. And yeah, there's other things that are going to be happening, but that's it for now. The Kooky Club is finished for the summer, and we have Beltane, but that's sold out, and also it's a bit late for you to be able to get over there unless you're from Guernsey, in which case get your tickets because it is literally about to sell out. I think we've got like 20 tickets left at the most. There might be less than 20 already. So we're basically sold out. So yeah, by the time this comes out, we probably will be. Very exciting. Can't wait to celebrate. Can't wait to party and enjoy myself and let my hair down. And then, then it's the start of the summer and the real proper bit of the year. So we'll see how that all unfolds. But yeah, thank you. And now on with the show. Okay, so I'm going to pull a rune. See what the universe wants me to talk about today. We're still in the energy of the Taurus dark moon, Venus led, Venus ruled, which is my archetype. She rules me. And yeah, like I say, much is happening astrologically and in the world in general. Oh, God. So I've pulled the same rune as I pulled last night in our reading, which is necessity. And this keeps coming up. And I talked about it last night in my video. So if you've seen the video already, what I was saying that this means is this is all necessary. So even the difficult times were necessary. That's what this keeps meaning to me. So when I'm overwhelmed and it's all got too much, then I pull this rune. It's telling me to just do what's necessary. Don't try and do everything. Pick which plates need spinning and which ones can be left for now and let them drop. And just focus on the ones that have to be span right this second. And that's quite a good way of setting boundaries and just getting a bit of clarity or a line to follow when you just feel completely overwhelmed. So that's what that means when I'm in that state. But I'm now in my nervous system feels relaxed now. I feel open. I feel inspired and in a abundant place again. And what this means to me now is that storm that I've just been through, that shit show that I've just gone through, that I am still in the process of, is all necessary for my spiritual development, for my journey towards my highest self, my archetype, my higher purpose, the next level in the game. Like whatever this thing is, the next chapter in the plot, in the book, in the movie of whatever this thing is. And yeah, it's all necessary. It's a necessary plot twist. It's a necessary conflict for my character to overcome and negotiate. And then it just lifts it all a bit into a more of a like it's drama, but the drama of it puts it into a more playful place, a curious place. Okay, so how have I ended up in the government? How am I going to have the nerves to stand up and say what I want to say when there are people there that went to debating societies and have had that entitlement their whole lives, that feel like they can take up space and they'll talk really slowly. And oh my God, it's just so noticeable how much I'll get up and speak really fast, and almost apologetically. And you can tell they already think that I speak too much, even though I'm hardly speaking at all compared to them. And then they'll just talk for frickin' hours and really slow. And it's just, oh God, you so think that you deserve this. Our time is not as important as yours. And it's just really noticeable. But it's necessary for me to stand up against this because it is the fractal and I am facing the tendrils of whatever it is that's the bigger picture in my reality, in my pixel. And if I can tackle this, if I can put medicine into the poison, if I can, antidote the poison, if I can heal the rifts and the nastiness, then I've transformed my pixel into something more beautiful. And that's what feels like has happened already. It's already happening. And now I have to step into that and believe in it and trust it. There are people who've been part of the opposition that are very much part of the opposition who I already feel are opening up and are becoming less opposed. And I'm connecting with them and going, all is forgiven, all is not lost. Be the prodigal son, come home, come back to us. You can be part of this community still. You can still be one of us and be appreciated and loved and celebrated and just come home. And then there are those that are maybe too Gollum-ish, that are too far gone, and they need to be fucking put in their place and told no. Like, boundaries need to be put in place so that they don't just, their ego doesn't get to smash everything up and rule the roost. And we might not achieve it. I might get voted out. Like, there is no given. It's a very close call as to which way it's going to go. It's going to depend on who manages to trigger who loses their temper, how it all comes out on the day. Really, it's all to play for. I've got no idea which way it's going to go. And then I've just got to trust that after all of that, I'm able to put a festival on and that I've thought of all the details and I've covered everything, because I definitely don't feel like I have at the moment. But I also feel like we've got a lot of it already sorted. Like, it feels like a lot. It's the paperwork, it's the admin that I still need to get done. And that's the bit where I need to sit and do it. But every time I do it, it's like I'll do it for however many hours I sit there and do it. And I haven't done it all still. Feels very never ending. But we'll get there. We're getting there. So yeah, just have to trust the process and trust that it's... And again, I suppose this is the necessity thing. Because am I doing anything unnecessary that I can just let drop for the moment? Doing this podcast could be argued as one of them. Do I need to be doing a podcast the week before I put on a festival? I don't want to not do them when I've said that this is a period of time I am doing them. I didn't do them for creation hibernation, but I don't want to not do a podcast when I'm up and running. So I feel like it is necessary. And actually part of the issue I've had is that my work, my creative work, like, it was necessary for me to edit my book and get my book ready for publishing because a publisher has said they want to publish it. And then I've been absolutely unable to look at it since, because I've had the festival coming up and I've got my government stuff happening. But really what's necessary is the stuff that earns me money, which is the podcast and getting books published and doing the festivals. And I haven't been able to open those emails or look at any of that stuff because I've been too overwhelmed with everything that's going on. So there's a prioritizing thing that needs to happen there. So that's what all of that means. This rune of necessity is like reassess and reevaluate what is necessary and make some important judgment calls on it, because all of that stuff is necessary, but that's like career, money. It's also my creativity. It's my inner world. It's my creative development as an artist, and it's my talents. But also the world is at war and fascism's on the rise. And what's more important, fighting it, even if it's just the little tendrils in my pixel, that is important. Like, that is necessary as well, because I don't get to be an artist in a fascist world. So I have to also fight that. I'm not saying these people are fascists, but it does definitely feel like it's all part of a similar vibe. That also is necessary. So yeah, it's trusting your instincts, following your nose, trusting the universe, continually assessing and evaluating and checking in. But yeah, I do feel like the universe has given me enough symbols with everything that's clicked together recently to say, this is what you're meant to be doing. You're in the right place. And that's what I mean when I say the outer world is a sign language for the inner world. This is where I'm meant to be. I am doing what I'm meant to be doing, because so many things are clicking and synchronicities are so regular that this is right. So I'm going with that. I'm trusting that. And my last thing is a chaos crusade. So to go and spend some time sat in nature observing. So just go and sit and observe. And the reason why I'm saying to do this is because when our nervous systems are fractured and reality is overwhelming us, and this thing of necessity is that it's almost like we need to do a reality check of what's actually real and what's actually important. And that is to step away from the great distractor, which is this being that's forever trying to take our attention, and to go and do it as a training. It's a bit like doing meditation is a training. You have to keep doing it, and it's a training to train your brain to just stop and be quiet. Can you just sit and observe? And it will be really hard. The teacher that taught me to do this was my mentor. And when she first started doing this 20 odd years ago, teaching MA acting at a drama school, she used to get the young people to sit and observe something for 15 minutes. And then over the years, because we've become so short attention span and so distracted, people started having panic attacks and anxiety attacks from sitting for that long. So she reduced it to 7 minutes. And I think even that people would find uncomfortable. So try 5 minutes, set a timer and just sit and observe. That's all you've got to do. And it doesn't matter what it is. Just sit in nature and observe something in nature. And give yourself 5 minutes to do it and time yourself and just observe. That's all I'm saying to do. And yeah, see what that experience is like. So that's everything from me for this week. Hope you have a glorious Beltane. Enjoy. And just, take a moment to really relish this time of year, because it's a beautiful, magical moment, and it's so easy for it to pass us by and us not stop and really appreciate it. So stop, observe, enjoy, immerse. Connect to the fires of Beltane, the burning of the Wicker Man, the burning of the old and the refreshing and the starting of the new, and us stepping out into this new summer that we're going to go out and do all these things. So all the intentions you've set over the winter and the mulching and the hibernation and the developing and chrysalising that you've done, we're going to come out now and be the butterflies that we are. So celebrating that, and then that mirrored with the International Workers' Day and the fire of the work that we do and our drive and desire to make the world a better place and to tear down systems that don't support us. All of that, it's all there to play for. That's just how I feel about everything at the moment. It's all to play for. And we are at a pivotal moment in our reality. So what we're going to create, it's absolutely necessary for us to get into action, to get driven, to get focused, and to create something magnificent. So with that, I shall see thee anon.